Yo, welcome everyone back to Crypto's News. So with this video, I'm going to try to give us a brief on what's happening right now and what crypto looks like. So when we're looking at, I guess, the prices, you have Ethereum up just slightly. It's up like 1.2% right now. You have Bitcoin pretty much flat. And there are some, again, concerns on the macro level. You had basically Europe being cut off by one of the larger pipelines that are feeding it from Russia after sanctions from Europe against Russia. And Russia's like, oops, oh, we have a leak on Friday in one of the pipelines, the Nord 1 pipeline. So we're gonna have to temporarily shut it down. Now it turns out that it's being shut down into who knows when, basically, until the sanctions are lifted, according to the main spokesperson for Putin in Russia. So that's causing a situation where you have Europe potentially paying higher and higher gas prices, and this putting pressure on the average consumer out there. You have the euro dropping like 0.7% to 0.9% today, so dropping below $1, which is quite insane. You have this whole group of countries, and even their currency isn't as powerful as the US dollar, which is just decimating everything. You had today OPEC, so the group of oil producing nations, basically saying, hey, gas prices are getting too high, we're not as profitable, and now they are going to be issuing even less supply today. So on the energy front, it looks like businesses and consumers are going to be hurting more. That could, again, mean less capital going toward things like stocks and cryptos, and potentially going more toward their energy costs. Like, I was hearing about how in Britain, for example, you have pubs, and pubs are such a huge part of the economy, but their bill, imagine, for electricity is going to be going in some places from 100,000 euro a month to 10 million euro per month. Not like a 10% increase, but potentially a 10 times increase. And how our business is going to stay open, sustainable. So just a complete culling away of the middle class that seems to be going on. And this, again, is just what cryptos were supposed to help us from. But you have more and more situations where it's just, you have regulations that are making it, I guess, more of the traditional way of operating, right? Like, you need a money transmitter's license, you need KYC at every exchange, you need information provided to tax agencies everywhere, you need you need so much just to be able to interact. It seems like, at least on the on-ramp and off-ramp levels, that cryptos are not really being used peer-to-peer in that sort of sense to create a truly parallel economy at this time right now. Although that could very well still exist, right? If you have people holding their hardware wallets, you have people holding their private keys, and many still do, and they have cryptos inside of them. Potentially, if there was some sort of credit freeze and a stopping of the bank's abilities to allow you to withdraw money, then people could use, regardless of whether they're allowed to or not, still use these things peer-to-peer, and that would really begin and spur the huge adoption of a peer-to-peer economy. But until then, right now, it's like tagging ourselves to the already existing horse on this carriage, right? We're just basically pegging ourselves to what already exists, and so it seems like more of the same, and less like we're gonna be able to create a revolution today, and it might be a little bit further off. But I still have hope that it'll ultimately prove to be better than the fiat system that currently exists, the TradFi system. So that's really the holdout. But in the meantime, it looks like it's uncertain whether cryptos are going to be continuing to go up, at least in the short term. We have to see. When it comes to the Ethereum versus Bitcoin trade, you have the ratio of ETH to BTC continuing to climb, especially on days like today where you have Ethereum climbing higher and you have Bitcoin flat. Makes the ratio look better. But we're heading into this merge. By the way, if you have nodes and you need to upgrade them, as the Bellatrix upgrade is coming out tomorrow, September 6th, and that's going to be the final update for Ethereum to prime it for the merge, which is around September 15th, 16th. There's an exact date right now, because Ethereum blocks come out with the beacon chain right now every 12 seconds consistently. So there's actually an exact time, UTC, that you can see when the merge will be happening. and then you can translate that to your local area if you're interested. But anyway, you need to update your nodes basically by today if you want to be ready in time for the merge, especially if you're like a solo staker. You need to take care of that ASAP, to be aware of that. But the situation is, I think the consensus is most people expect that there's going to be some sort of sell-off, since again, you have the ETH BTC ratio climbing so much. A lot of that is likely those who are trying to trade this, right? They're trying to hold as much ETH to get some sort of proof of work token that might exist when the fork might again happen. Although I'm not seeing that there seems to be a serious chance that there will be a proof of work coin that is serious again. So I don't know. There seems to be a little bit of a time. It's just mostly miners hoping something comes out that is adopted. Seems to be people who just want to be able to get some other token to sell on exchanges. There's not really any sort of bid. There's no real demand to buy some sort of ETH proof of work token. And you really need to see that demand before there's a true market and it doesn't just go to zero. So just not seeing that happen right now. But anyway, some people probably still holding ETH, hoping out for that. People trying to time this as well and just get in before others pile in. Although again, just that narrative, for the most part, people are saying there's more likely to be a sell-off once we get the merge. But I think over the long term, the consensus is it should be up only. Although we will have to see. It could be something that plays out over a long period of time, because for Ethereum, a lot of the adoption, I imagine, I mean, this is just something you hear from more and more of the developers and the hardcore Ethereum people, is that, yeah, this merge is likely going to lead to some sort of FUD, because the FUD will be, oh, withdrawals are going to be coming 6 to 12 months later, and potentially that a lot of the demand for Ethereum doesn't even go straight into Ethereum, but goes into layer 2 networks, which would have lower fees. Unlike Ethereum post-merge, which this isn't going to materially impact fees and lowering them. But you have a situation where we could have lower fees if more people use things like Polygon or other layer 2s, Optimism. And that means that less fees would be paid directly if people are transacting on layer 1, which means less fees could be burnt and potentially less demand for ETH. And that could be something that's potentially, I guess, more bearish if you really want adoption for layer 2. But it's those who really want to see this technology adopted and see people actually using this versus those who just want to see price go up. Although I think they both move in tandem. I think some of the recent FUD is around whether Ethereum is going to have this demand again, because if we want lower fees, and we basically have decided that for Ethereum, the roadmap is for layer 2s. So if layer 2s are adopted, that means less demand for ETH. That means ETH number not go up by as much. At the same time, like I've said before, you're going to have ETH issuance dropping off of a cliff right now after the merge. You're going to have a reason to hold ETH if you want to be able to get these earnings and eventually compound them, right? Staking it, not moving it, then there's really less of a reason you would want to sell it, especially if ETH becomes, like I've heard, the risk-free bond rate, where it's the ETH that is safest. ETH is the safest altcoin that exists for some sort of yield, so potentially rivaling something like bonds, which governments back and guarantee you some sort of yield. It'll be the same sort of thing, except algorithmically programmed. At the same time, the more and more people you have staking ETH and trying to get into this, the less and less yield there is for those who are still on board. So that potentially meaning that yields will just go down over time, and so that might attract less and less people to be staking. But there will be eventually some sort of equilibrium. These are going to be things that take some time to play out, and we will have to see if this triple halvening for ETH will bring us to glory. $10,000 ETH, $20,000 ETH over, I think, what many people think is going to be a period of a little bit longer. It's not going to happen right away, and I can't give you an exact estimate, but you know, it's going to be playing out over the longer term. I don't think anybody's giving exact estimates on price or anything like that anymore, but it tends to be that way during the bear market, where people are they lowball estimations for where things are going. Like I read today, someone saying they don't even expect Bitcoin to ever hit $30,000 again. I don't know. I think that people will catch on to the inflation game, and the dollar will have to be inflated away, because the stronger it gets, the more pressure it puts on other economies outside of the US, just because of exports, imports, and Forex. And that means that the Fed will have to reverse course before destroying the entire world and inflating things away. That's just one reason would have to be inflated away. And so you would want to hold things that are hard coded to be limited, whether by nature, like gold and silver, although again, those can be printed or mined. You can always turn on more mining rigs for gold, but for Bitcoin, that doesn't mean more Bitcoin is going to be mined. And so I think that's something powerful that will continue to bring the world into the state. I have a suspicion that after the merge, Bitcoin is going to be the #1 play again, and I think that more and more people are going to seek it as a safe haven asset within crypto. Although Ethereum has been the play right now, I think people are going to be looking to Bitcoin. But again, with energy prices going up, that's creating a lot of controversy right now, because Ethereum is moving to proof of stake, which means basically negligible energy consumption, whereas Bitcoin could become a target as more and more people are hurting if they don't have heat, right? Like I'm hearing that in Germany, businesses, people, even the government, I heard, and I don't know, I don't have any proof right now for this, but that they're hoarding or they're trying to stack campfire because there might be too expensive will be the price for wood. A little bit of Yoda there. See, I can't even talk. But basically getting wood just to try to heat their homes. And so when people are hurting that much, they're going to be looking at Bitcoin and talking about how much energy consumption it is, trying to ban Bitcoin mining and everything else. That doesn't mean that Bitcoin is going to be destroyed again, because wherever it dies, it just springs up harder somewhere else. Like you saw when China banned Bitcoin, or India or whoever, it just made the US mining hash power climb a lot. So that's just something you're going to see, a whack-a-mole with Bitcoin. But still, it could put somewhat pressure on politicians globally to maybe even in the US to start looking at Bitcoin a little bit more negatively, and that could be something materially good for Ethereum. But I think it will take time for that to play out. Maybe not. Maybe you'll see a hate for Bitcoin growing this winter and spring that we've never seen before. And so I could be wrong that the Bitcoin trade will be a big one. But I think it will, if it has bottom or close to a bottom, and it's been showing strength here, it doesn't seem to want to drop below the upper $19,000 levels. We were seeing huge hits over the last month, huge hits with Bitcoin and cryptos, but now they seem to have somewhat leveled off. We'll see if Ethereum has been the reason for some of this catalyzation that's dragged up even Bitcoin and shown more interest in the space. But that's just going to be a wait and see approach, and I'll continue to follow that here on the show with you guys. Just want to give some thoughts as we have today, Monday, and we start another week, so you know kind of where we're at. But yeah, that's kind of the overall picture for right now. Just, you know, a huge amount of certainty, waiting to see whether the Fed will go from 75 basis point hike on the next FOMC meeting to 50 basis point hike based on some of the data that's coming out right now, some of the pain. That potentially could be good. People talking about Mt. Gox and how on September 15th will be beginning of the last date to file claims for the 180,000 plus Bitcoin that could be released between now and whatever period into the wild. That putting pressure on Bitcoin. I think that's going to be something else that, yeah, to be looking out for. But it seems like there's definitely more potential for FUD coming up right now than bullish narratives. But again, generally you want to trade against the consensus, that being if most people are selling out because they're worried right now, that's precisely when you want to be buying in. When Jim Cramer says basically ignore Bitcoin, that they're dead, trade in the water, and so that's somewhat some of what he's been alluding to, the CNBC guy, what is it, Fast Trader or whatever it's called. That's when he's kind of a signal to trade against. We have had so much washing out in the bear market of projects, like Poolin, a recent project that has been pausing withdrawals. Pain. I'm sorry for anybody who's felt pain from that one. You had Celsius as well go down. You had Michael Saylor now going down for tax issues or whatever, so he's gone pretty quiet. But oh yeah, and with Celsius, by the way, for those of you guys who might not have been following this, it looks like if you had funds in your custody accounts and not in the earn accounts, then you might be getting some money back because there's been a motion. A bunch of lawyers came together basically on behalf of people who had funds in custody, where if you have funds on Celsius custody, those aren't earning some sort of yield, like what they weren't earning yield like the earn accounts. So a group came together to hire basically a law firm, and they told Celsius, basically Celsius had to give those funds back because they did not belong to Celsius. And so Celsius has a hearing coming up on October 6th, and they will try to get the money back to those people who had funds in the custody accounts. But it depends on whether your account, well, the funds in your custody account ever had money in the earn account or some of the other branches of Celsius. If they were pure custody accounts, like they were only ever in custody accounts, then you'll likely be entitled to all that money back, which is pretty good. It wasn't a huge amount of money that was in the custody accounts relative to the earn accounts, but still that would be good for you. And if you had transferred, I think it's like $7,700 total in aggregate from like earn accounts over to the custody accounts, then you would be eligible for that money back. I'm not sure if you're going to be getting back, like if you had more than $7,677 or whatever it is transferred from earn accounts to custody accounts, that you'll be able to get any money back. It seems kind of confusing, the wording around it, or whether if you transferred an amount less than that, you'll get up to that amount back. So you can read the language for yourself, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that as we get toward the hearing, but just wanted to give you guys an update since many of you have had funds on Celsius. I found out as well, and you are looking for updates on that. So that's still playing out, and yeah, I'll update you more as we go along. I hope you enjoyed the video today. I did do another personal video on the side before this, so check that out if you care more about, you know, just more of the vlog style stuff here. And let me know your thoughts and comments on anything that I talk about. It helps me think about how to put content together for you in the future that you'll enjoy. Take care, everyone. Much love and stay cryptic. Peace.